Call to order the Common Council meeting for January 20th, 2026. We'll start with the roll call. Clerk?
Mayor Butterman?
Here.
Councilmember Mosley Campoli?
Here.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Here.
Councilmember McHugh?
Here.
Councilmember Lepari Shu?
Here.
Councilmember Carson? Councilmember Harrington? Here. Councilmember Marks? Here. Councilmember Matheson?
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all for being here. As sort of the reminder, as the agenda has changed a bit. So if this is your first time at a council meeting for the 2026, there's an opportunity to address the council with petition or second at the beginning of the meeting or near the beginning and also at the end. So if someone was late or thinks of something, there's two opportunities to address the council. I'll start with my remarks, and on the agenda there's a few bulleted items for me to talk about here for a few minutes or set the stage for some of the discussion that I hope that we will have tonight in the council. So there's a few remarks here: the warming station and winter response weather update, a workshop meeting planned for March, and the city administrator evaluation plan that is also scheduled for March, and we'll talk about that. And I'd like to start though with what I started with the first meeting in January, which I apologize I did not put on the bullet. It's just more of the announcement that it was the first of the month, and so the Veterans Outreach had their monthly lunch at the Armory, and they do a Veteran of the Month recognition, which is really nice. And so today, the recognition was for David Vadney, who was in the Marine Corps, the Army National Guard, and the Air National Guard, totaling 32 years, starting in 1967. And got to meet him today and congratulate him. And he received a certificate from the Veterans Outreach as well as from Congressman Josh Riley's office. And they have these accolades, a number of awards that he received along the way. And what he was seen most proud about was his family, and that in addition to his military service, he also was one of the 8 founding members of the EMT service in Lawrence. And now he lives in Otsego. So, as I said in January with our veterans, it's great to recognize them because their service has many forms. And here's another example in David Vadney. So it was a very, very nice conversation with him today, and the recognition is certainly well deserved. So that was, sorry, a slight addendum to the bullet points, but I think a moment worth of time. So the warming station and winter weather response. This is, I sent you some remarks, some more details about it earlier. I want to recap it as far as what has happened in the last week since our last meeting, starting last weekend through this weekend that we just passed and the weekend coming up. And some of the confusion that led to frustration, and the frustration directed at the city and the county, and some of it is certainly well placed. I want to talk about that right now as far as what we can do and what maybe we should do going forward. So just to level set where we are, as far as the warming station on Chestnut Street and what the county is doing for services for people that are homeless in the Oneonta community. And there was some confusion as far as the winter storm coming, as far as what could people do. And as whether or not in the city if SUNY was available or if the Army was available for housing people intermittently if they weren't able to get to the warming station or to a hotel. And so some of that confusion brought forward some questions as far as what we should do. And the First United Methodist Church stepped up and really helped out our community in a great way. And Anthony Erdley and Angela Erdley especially gave us a huge amount of effort and time, which is very much appreciated. And he gave almost daily or multiple times daily updates on how things were going. And it shone a light on some of the things that maybe the county is doing the right things with the ability that they have, but maybe there's some more that we can do. And the more that we can do is something that I'd like to talk about with the council tonight, a little bit maybe more during the roundtable session. First, though, is I had some follow-up calls with Ed Frazier, the county board chair, with Peter Oberacker, the state senator, as far as things that we can do to advocate for increase the support as this goes to the county and as they deliver their services. And the Code Blue program is a good program, but it has its limitations. And those limitations are, in a sense, exposed during the times of extreme weather like this. Because if they close during the day, people need a place to go. And if it's also intermittent, that's also a challenge that makes it difficult for people. So I think there's a clear eye and a clear setting from the county, as well as with Senator Oberacker, that we would like to advocate through the legislative session that the Code Blue program be expanded. this expansion would certainly require funding from the legislature to approve that guideline change and funding change, which would my hope is that that resolution would then be a 24/7 option and a seasonal base as opposed to a temperature and intermittent base. This, I think, will create a great amount of stability for our services being delivered in the city of Oneonta, whether or not they're actually delivered by the city, but since they are in the city, we want to make sure people are being taken care of. And second, that's something we can advocate through Albany, and I hope that that's something that they are successful with, and I'd like to push on that. The second part, though, is that's what we can lean on our legislators to do, but what can we do as a community? And I had a very nice conversation with Pastor Bradley from the First United Methodist Church, and we had sort of a debrief of our own as far as what went well at the church during the week and what could we do better going forward. And what became clear is a discussion as far as the facilities around the city that can be available, like the church or the armory or other buildings that have a large amount of space. And in the sense that there was confusion attached to whether or not certain facilities can or cannot be used. Are there volunteers that can or cannot step up to help in those times? Are there resources that we can look to for food or other essentials that would be needed? And so we started to zero in on this idea that we need to take an inventory around the city and the greater Oneonta community as far as what are the capacities that we could use in a community-based way so that we have an action plan that helps people in the times where there might be gaps in what the county can provide. And so Pastor Bradley put on the spot there at the moment, but graciously said yes to co-chair an effort with me to do that inventory and provide essentially a game plan so that we can, as a community, know what we can do the next time this happens. Because it's going to happen again. We live in a cold part of the country, and this is going to happen every year. And if we don't have a clear sight of the capabilities we have as a community, then we're going to find ourselves struggling. And those that are vulnerable are going to be struggling, and that is not something that any of us are willing to accept. So my question to the council would be, through the roundtable, when we get to that, we can discuss that more deeply, and I'm hoping that one or more of you might want to join us in that effort as we try to gather stakeholders around the community to send, like I said, take that inventory and work to make a plan so that we know exactly what we can do on any given day to help people if there's a gap between what the county can offer. So that will come up hopefully again in roundtable. The workshop meeting is a reminder that we're doing that on March 3rd. Our regular meeting will hopefully be brief. That's the date I'll do the State of the City address. We'll start the meeting with that. We'll do some business items as required, and then we'll move into the workshop meeting, which I'm, in my mind, scheduling for 2 to 2.5 hours in certain categories that we can work through that will hopefully work our way into some goal setting and some initiatives that the council can take on over 2026. And hopefully we'll leave that meeting with some clear sight on some objectives that we can put in place for 2026. Hopefully achievable in the same year, but maybe some targets are multi-year targets. That would then lead into our city administrator evaluation plan I think before I came in, there was some discussion about that before, and I'd like to tie the evaluation with the administrator attached to our goal setting for the year so we know that we're, in the sense that we're on the same viewpoint as far as what we expect from Mr. Matthijs's daily tasks and what he does to advance the initiatives of the council. So it seems like that's a good time to do it. So we'll do that at the following meeting, at not March 3rd is the workshop. The next meeting will be, we'll set aside an executive session to do the evaluation discussion. And hopefully before that you can fill out your forms and give your comments and questions and things to consider so we can have an informative conversation. And I think having that on the back end of the workshop meeting might give some good standing for us for the rest of the year. And then next year I'm hoping that we can do the State of the City and the evaluation in February earlier, so it's not too much into the year. But this is the first time through it, so I'm hoping to set up a process that we can rely on year to year. Okay. Those are my opening remarks, and we'll move on to public hearings, for which I see that we don't have any scheduled. Is that correct? Okay. And then we'll move to the petitioner's first opportunity to address the council. And like I said, if you have something to say right now, we'd like to hear it, or have a question, we'd like to hear it. If something comes to mind later, you have another chance to do so at the end of the meeting. And if you'd like, you're welcome to address the council now. You have 3 minutes. When you start, the request is that you state your name and your address, and then pose your question or your comment. And just keep in mind, though, it's not necessarily an exchange. It's us to receive your comment or question, and it will be directed whether to Mr. Matthijs or a council member, but essentially it's your opportunity to address the council. So, yes, sir.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. I needed the cutoff.
Okay.
So please state your name and 3 minutes starts.
Would it be all right, I know in the past, I've handed copies of the address to the city clerk, and do forgive me, Carrie, I presume there was a full, council,
That's okay. We'll make sure they get it.
so, okay, thank you. If you have more than necessary, that's the only reason why, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
And just here?
Wherever you'd
I
like.
know for a while we had that, anyway.
Um,
I'm just trying to make sure I do it right.
You can stand there.
Okay,
It's okay.
this is where I-
If you feel more comfortable with the podium, we can pull that out.
Okay, no worries. Good evening. Oh, Charles Sherrard,
Thank you.
391 Chestnut Street, Oneonta, New York. Good evening. I speak tonight not as an activist, nor even as a humanitarian. Instead, I come here as a member of the Oneonta community. Because that is what we are, even if this long and hard political winter has caused us to lose sight of that fact. At our core, we remain a welcoming city, and it is in that spirit that I address this council. Ever since moving here 3 years ago, I was struck by how willing Oneontans were to lend a hand to their neighbors. Only last week, I saw one neighbor of mine come to the aid of another neighbor when her car broke down on I-88. She didn't have to do that, but she did, because that's what Oneontans do for each other. I was especially glad to see my church, First United Methodist, come to the aid of homeless Oneontans during last week's blizzard. They are the only group of people I have ever known who could have pulled that off against such odds. Sadly, this is one room in Oneonta in which I have not found a spirit of community and cooperation. After witnessing the nature of local politics over the past year, I am not surprised that local government services were wanting during recent events. How could it be otherwise, given all the things that we have heard said here? These events were simply the product of a year of divisive rhetoric. I would also remind the council that it is the first and foremost function of government to ensure the safety and well-being of its citizens. I do not care whether this is a city jurisdiction or a county jurisdiction. As far as I'm concerned, this is community jurisdiction. One thing I do know is that we will only overcome this as a community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir.
Jeffrey House, 52 Union Street, Oneonta, retired from the City of Oneonta Community Development Office. I'm also on the Housing Authority Board and the boards of Lettuce Apartments, Academy Arms, and Gator Towers. I'm also on the board of Your Safe Haven, not-for-profit feeding program that operates out of the building at 18 Elm Street, owned by the Episcopal Church, but not operated by the church. We're our own separate 501c3. We, just for background, feed. Last year we fed over 20,000 meals in this community, having received over 75,000 pounds of food from Hannaford. We have approximately 40 volunteers, 5 nights a week, and so we have a real pulse on the community that we're talking about when we're speaking about homeless and housing insecure and people who couch surf and try and get from one apartment to the other or sleep under the viaduct. I think that the frustration that I have had and that others have had that I've spoken with both at city level, county level, people in other organizations such as OFO and the churches and Catholic Charities, is that it's cold here every year. This shouldn't have come as a surprise to anybody. This has been a little more severe than we've had in the last few years, but I'm heartened to hear your remarks, Mr. Bitterman. I think it's important for the county to be very active in speaking with the city as the largest municipality and the municipality with undoubtedly the largest concentration of people who have an insecurity in their housing and in their ability to get food and just shelter and everything else they need. So I'm heartened to hear that you're looking to put together a team and to speak with the county and look for funding, more funding, because I know funding is available through the state for code said, I think, I don't see it to be a responsibility of the city to handle the code blue issue. It is a county issue. I think the frustration comes mostly from the county's lack of either understanding code blue regulations or a lack of caring about whether they understand the code blue regulations. The regulations are very clear as to what the county's responsibility is in providing shelter, warming stations for everybody who's homeless, not the ones who are, quote, resourceful, which is one of the quotes from the county DSS. And I think that it's really important that we work together to come up with a solution so that this doesn't happen again. Thank you to all the organizations that have stepped up to help, but we certainly need a lot more help than what has been afforded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Others? Yes,
I'm Lily Rose. I'm
Lily
from
Rose.
Riverside. I have been helping out with the church. I'm a church person myself. I saw one of the videos that Anthony made, and I came and helped. The church doesn't have resources. We have been trying to reuse stuff from Saturday's bread and just try and get these people out of the cold. Like, so I didn't prepare anything. I just wanted to come and make sure voices are heard. So, yeah, we're at the church. We've been just trying to show how the people need help. And we don't know where to get the help from. That, yeah, that's really all. I don't know what else to say.
thank you. Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
I too am Kelly Miller, 84 Avenue, Oneonta. I've been helping out the church, and I think there's a little bit of maybe prejudice going on as far as those people that need help. But really, all I have to do is treat them like humans, have a little patience, understanding. I was homeless before for 3 years myself, so I kind of know what it feels like. But just calmness and patience and not being afraid to help those people can really go a long way. They're really awesome, really sweet, caring. They have kids and dogs and animals with mom and grandmas just like the rest of us. And each one of them worries about them too. So if you just want to take a deep breath, not be afraid of doing it alone and go check it out for yourself. You'll see that it's a really cool community. And they're a lot of fun and not afraid of your friends in a way. So,
thank you.
thank you.
Others? Yes. No, you're.
My name is J.C. Chase, and I live at 8 Boylston Street. And I have to tell you that to speak here today. I have to have an address to have a voice in this city. For emergency services to declare an emergency large enough to open temporary shelters, power has to go out. I have to have power in order for it to be an emergency that I don't have access to heat. But if I didn't have an address or power in the first place, it's not an emergency if I freeze to that. That is a choice. That is a choice that this county has made. That is a choice our society has made, and that is a choice that this city is continuing to make. It is still freezing temperatures out. It has been 2 weeks since we were told to prepare for a storm and dangerously low temperatures. Those deadly cold temperatures have been ongoing. At the beginning of this, when EMS caused confusion about the armory being open as a shelter, all this city did was send police to clear out, in their words, the riffraff. Not to find people shelter, just kick them out before a storm. The city has been criticized for not responding in an emergency, and I have to hand it to you because you all sound like seasoned politicians in your responses. You're taking this matter seriously and reviewing everything carefully, but no action has been taken yet, and we are still in crisis. DSS first reacted to public pressure by opening up another warming station in Cooperstown, a full 24 hours after a weather advisory. People had to walk from one warming station to OFO, take the bus, and risk frostbite. The people criticized that plan, so they opened up something in town, but not for long enough. And it's still freezing, and people have to wait until the next announcement. Will they open something up in time, or will it be too late? And we don't know. And the city is not holding them to account or offering up solutions or a backup plan. Someone in the city needs to be responsible as their job for holding DSS accountable. The city needs to sue DSS when they fail to do their jobs. We also need to have an actual emergency plan controlled by the city, so we aren't reliant solely on the competency and discretion of other agencies. We live in upstate New York, and there's no excuse not to be prepared fire shelter in the winter, not some half-hearted Monday through Friday DSS office hours solution meant to save face. They are not making realistic plans for people, and they are doing the bare minimum to seem like they're doing good jobs to cover their own butts, and you all know it. So I don't want to hear one more time that it's on DSS or it's on the county. I don't want to hear that you plan to meet and make plans for the future or discuss the budget. We need action today. It was negative 10 degrees today. Over a dozen people have died already in New York State. 10 more would have died in Oneonta if not for one family that stepped up and did more for the city than anyone else in this room has done. Deciding who counts in an emergency and deciding who gets to live or die is state-sanctioned murder. It might not be as active as shooting someone in the street, but it is still murder, and the blood is on your hands if you continue to do nothing. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Angela Erdman, excuse my voice. Yep, I'm the one that's feet on the ground, my son and I. We seen a problem and we reacted. It's as plain as that. First United Methodist Church takes pride in caring for our people of our community. Not just the homeless, but the elderly, the kids. We've done this for years and we will continue to do so. Pastor Casey stepped up and allowed us to open the church, go in and create a warming shelter for 5 days. My son slept on the floor with these people. He got to know each one. I've got testimonies from these individuals who are people. They are people. Yes, they are broken people. And I think it's our job to somehow get them back on the right track. And I think we can. There are many people like this, and I know a lot of people think they're not worth it, but they are. They have families, they have brothers, they have sisters, they have children, and they do deserve just what you and I have. This was a big undertaking for my family. We've never done anything like this before, but I will tell you, the community that we live in rallied around what we did. There wasn't an item that we didn't need. Put it out there, and there it came. We fed them for 5 days, 3 meals a day. We slept on the floor because we had blankets and pillows, and we had warm clothing for them to go out into the cold with. So yeah, I mean, you need hands on feet on the ground to get this going. We need a 24/7 shelter. Maybe not, yeah, in the great world, 365. But you know what? If we can just do it for the winter, because I don't know if we're ever going to have this again, but DSS only extended this till Monday. So the people in the hotels and whatever are only there till Monday. All next week, we still have a -degree weather. What's going to happen? So we really need to work together. It seems like everybody's working against each other. And, you know, oh, I did this, you did this, I did this. That's not what it's about. We don't want credit. We want to make people viable. We want to be able to see that they are going to survive this cold spell that we got. And yeah, no one died on our watch. You should be very proud of that, unlike New York City. So we got to come up with a better plan. This is not working. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time? Yes, yes, ma'am.
Judgmental, you
it's sad to come back to a town that prospered and then fell to, what is that, the Monterey State, the government or stuff, like the wars going on and stuff. I noticed there's a lot of companies out here, like Food Source, and a lot of them just throw it away in the garbage. Like, I can understand, like, they're worrying about the people's health and stuff. Someone else, maybe we can talk with the corporations and business. I've been online, like social media. My platform is Eagle, TJ Randall 1, Issa Timothy, Issa TJ Randall. You find me on Twitch, Twitter. I am Madman 2623, or you can call me Fearful Pie. So I'm an epic gamer / spammer for Google. So I go around like indicating companies and stuff that if they're not doing their job properly, I report them. But I try not to report because I know how the government is. I know how we the people struggle from like 39-cent cheeseburger to like 99-cent gas up to like now we're coming into like a fall stage of money issue. I see an opportunity, money coming out of thin air. Like, it's weird. Turkey, Niger, Benin, Iraq, Israel, they pulling money out of the thin air from a computer, which is like physically impossible because money's not just in thin air. Money's an idea. That means to make money. That means we have to kill trees. Our town wasn't brought up on that, like watching people fall and struggle and like, nah, don't worry about him. Nah, I mean, they're gonna mess up our track. This town wasn't like that. The Boys and Girls Club changed us and to build us a bigger, better place. I remember when it was used to call the Boys Club, and we the kids fought for the girls to come join us to be as one as a community. Like Oniata had made, like SUNY brought the music to us. Like, even though we were already a small town doing music, how we prospered, we got the clubs out there for the kids. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of houses that I seen being like falling under and stuff. People who can't pay mortgages. I seen that there's donation and there's also money for people who's losing houses. Why can't we like open up a door for these people to welcome the people who don't have homes? And I guarantee that would minimize the lot on drugs. Like, this town was not a drug. This town used to be peace. Everybody can go get a drink, get something to eat, bring your kids. I remember being like 6 years old, going into the bar and getting a cheeseburger sitting at the corner back table of Copper Fox. I mean, nothing illegal, but getting a cheeseburger because I gotta wait for the Boys and Girls Club to open, because usually they take a break. I posted and helped out a lot of people. I got some callbacks from like Washington State. I even got some from Europe that really want to come to America to help because they know America's helping them. So, but how Donald Trump got the tax, like you can't get money. I can't get money donated from another country to here because of Donald Trump. All right, I'm fine with that. I mean,
We've surpassed the 3 minutes.
yes,
There'll be a second opportunity if you'd like.
I apologize.
That's okay. It's okay, there's a second opportunity at the end of the meeting too. Anyone else? Yes.
Yes. So I didn't really prepare any. Oh, sorry. Hi everyone. My name's Justine Becker. I live on 244 Main Street here in Oneonta. I didn't really prepare anything, and this is sort of more of a shout out to Otsego County in particular. So I'm currently a line cook at Omiyang Brewery, and I am mentioning this because a couple of people have brought up the issue of food waste in particular. So my boss, Brett Smith, who's the head chef there, notices that every time we clean out the walk-in, every time we clean out dry storage, there is a ton of food waste. There is unfortunately a ton of stuff that we just have to throw out simply because things are taken off the menu, or things are not in demand, or for any other reasons. And he mentioned it to me because I had some connections in our local government and wanted to reach out and see if the county could make some reached out to Omni Gang Brewery and makes a deal with them to eliminate our food waste and help out people who need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address now? If not, you can think about it. There'll be a second opportunity.
All right, so back to the.
Is it okay if we wait to the second, when I say second opportunity, I'm sorry. I meant down the agenda, there's a second opportunity. So you, if you like, you know, you can have a second, once we get to that part.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any other hands. We'll move on for now to the correspondence.
There was one item of correspondence received, and it's in your packets, and will be attached to the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Presentations, there are no scheduled presentations. So we'll move to the city administrator's report.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of updates, and I'll take some questions from council if you have them. Sales tax for November of 2025 was $633,000, and I can email it to you after. That's about 33,000 or 5.5% more than 2024. 2025 through November was just over $6.17 million, which is about 2.5% more than 2024. There was an email that went out today from the State Comptroller's Office representative to council. I think you may or may not have seen it yet regarding statewide sales tax. I think their numbers go through December. We have not yet received our numbers for December, so there might be a little difference there where they say Otsego County is up 2.7%, but they're similar. The digital display in City Hall lobbies live, you may have seen that. If you didn't go through the lobby, check it out. We can obviously modify that however people would like to see in the future, but we're showing things like the monthly calendar, the weather, building directory, photos, that sort of thing. DPW has been working. You may have seen the Nixle notices. They'll keep going out as long as they're able to remove snow from along various streets in the city. They're in particular the narrower ones as well as our parking lots. Tyler Technology training is underway for various modules, and we're looking at doing some data pulls for the financial and utility billings. I just wanted to let you know that it is in progress. We still have a long way to go. Are there any questions, Council?
Greg, could I just mention, I noticed down Market Street where the crosswalks are, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 that where the raised crosswalks are that need to be cleared. If you're facing City Federal Credit Union, 2 crosswalks to the right, and then I think 1 to the left. Most of it is clear, but it's just that that's where we expect people to be crossing, so that might help there.
Okay,
also.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a note and we'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Yes.
I had a quick question about if there's been a date established for the ceremony to open the transit hub.
Not finalized yet. We're talking about late April or early May, thereabouts, to have some sort of a grand opening, ribbon cutting event. So we'll announce that hopefully by the next meeting, I would think.
If you're looking at me for dates, there's a few dates. It looks like the last week of April is the likely week where that would occur. But there's some discussion with SUNY and Harwick as far as participation and trying to coordinate. So hopefully very soon we'll have a date.
Could I add to that?
Yes, please.
Just so you know, I was on the phone with New York State DOT this week, and they would like to attend the.
Oh, of course. Yes. See no other questions? That concludes your report.
That was all.
Thank you. Okay, there were no scheduled boards, commissions, or task force presentations or reports tonight. However, there is one short from Councilmember Mosher Kimpole.
Very brief from the Commission on Community Relations and Human Rights. The Trailblazer Award nomination is now open on the city website. So if you know of a woman doing trailblazing work in the city of Oneonta that you would like to nominate for that award, please submit your nominations now.
Yep. All right, thank you. Okay, on the committee reports, we were hoping to have our first negotiations committee report tonight, but unfortunately due to some scheduling conflicts that arose last minute that had to be postponed, And so the first meeting of the negotiations committee will be on Thursday at 5 p.m. if anyone would like to attend. So, and then hopefully then at the next council meeting we'll have a report on that. So now we'll move to the approval of warrants. This is a motion that the Common Council approves the warrants totaling $1,131,618.26, and that the same be placed on the Finance Director's desk for payment as presented. Have a motion? Councilmember Moshe Campoli, first and second. Councilmember Harrington. Okay. Any discussion? Clerk, take the roll.
Councilmember Moshe Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParty Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Okay. The next, we're on to the consent agenda, which you would normally see that more full. However, the Finance Committee could not meet, so the decision was made to move the items that would have possibly been on the consent agenda to the discussion agenda. Since the Finance Committee could not meet, we can discuss those tonight. So the only then motion on the consent agenda would be the motion, as you see it there. So a motion for accepting the singular item. Councilmember Q. This is first, second. Councilmember Marks. Clerk.
Councilmember Moshe Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParty Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're to the discussion agenda. Like I said, these are things that may have been on the consent agenda, if not asked to be removed. First motion is that the Common Council authorizes the Finance Director to accept an anonymous 2025 donation in the amount of $1,000 to be restricted for the Fire Department, and further authorizes any necessary budget amendments for said acceptance. Is there a motion? Councilmember Harrington is first, second, and I'm going with Councilmember Moshe Campoli. I saw that hand first. Okay, any discussion? No discussion? Roll call, clerk.
Councilmember Moshe Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParty Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Pass.
Thank you. Next motion, that the Common Council authorizes the Finance Director to accept an anonymous 2025 donation in the amount of $2,500 to be restricted for the Fire Department, and further authorizes any necessary budget amendments for said acceptance. Is there a motion? Councilmember Hughes first, Councilmember Marks second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Moshe Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParty Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington. Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Okay. Next motion, returns from the first page to the second page. Motion that the Common Council authorizes a waiver of the city purchases policy and requirement relative to the procurement of professional and consultant services, and further authorizes the city administrator, executive, and execute an agreement with Otsego Media for the provision of marketing, communications, and public information efforts through 2026 in the amount of $45,000. The Common Council further authorizes a $25,000 budget amendment, increasing the general fund appropriated fund balance and increasing A.6989.463 other economic opportunity and development professional services. Is there a motion? Councilmember Harrington first, second. Councilmember Marks. Second, thank you. Discussion. Just,
I would like to propose to table this motion
Sure.
because Otsego Media will be giving a presentation to the Communications Committee on,
Mhm.
next Wednesday.
oh, it's tomorrow, right?
This Wednesday.
Okay. Would you like to table it for the next meeting?
Yes.
Wait,
So
second, third? I think we'll probably, Councilmember LaParty. McHugh has, okay, we'll get to McHugh has that one. Okay. Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Moshe Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParty Shu.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yeah.
Councilmember Marks.
Thank you. Okay. So that will be for our next meeting. Thank you. Okay, the next motion I'm not going to read, as you can see it there in your minutes, but it's the motion, the Common Council approves the following resolution as presented in the agenda. Motion. Councilmember Moshe Campoli is first. A second. Councilmember Walsh Russo. So discussion is open up. This is, so we can kind of start to feed the conversation a little bit. This was a grant that was competed for in a previous cycle, but we did not receive it. We were not granted the grant. So previously, it was related to skate park improvements. This is sorry?
Oh, sorry, listening. I said right.
Oh, you're right along with me. Right,
Yes.
yeah. It's for skate park improvements. This is going to be a bit of a pivot from the skate park. There was the survey, which you might be familiar with, where there was a sphere of, I think, 300 potential survey takers, and the survey gave some clear interest in bathroom upgrades and play equipment upgrades. And so this is pivoting to focus on those instead of the skate park. So it's still a competitive grant. Sorry? Yeah. So just give you this. I'm saying the stage right. Yeah. So this is the grant. I think is due next week. So it's on the agenda for tonight for consideration, and the consideration for the local share getting a match to it. So that's setting the stage as a pivot towards this other goal, as opposed to what was previously considered when the last time the grant was submitted. So discussion. So heard a what?
Judy?
It's not that it's not going to be. It's that this is a competitive grant, and it was missed last time, and the interest was more from the survey on these areas of improvement. Yes, Councilmember.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did the Parks and Rec Commission discuss this as a project?
Well, I just want to ask about what Shannon just asked about, because we had submitted a grant last year specifically
For the skate park, so I'm not understanding why.
So is this a different grant?
We're taking the money from it.
Go ahead. Motion, Councilmember.
Yeah, I know a little background about this that I learned from Greg, actually, from our city administrator, because the Quality of Life and Infrastructure Committee, was going to discuss it. Our meeting was canceled because of the weather. Then Finance was going to discuss it. They were canceled. But I feel like maybe, Greg could provide the background information on why the grant shifted, because I think it was really a matter of the community involvement and how much, folks were able to contribute, to the proposed, skate project, was my understanding.
Yeah, so last year we had, it's about a year and a half ago, Max Wright had come to the council and proposed the idea of raising funds for a new skate park to replace what we have. And the aim was to shoot big, aim for what ended up being $1 million plus project. The council agreed at that time to dedicate somewhere around $20,000 to $25,000 for initial conceptual drawings for that. We did that, and that was used to make the application to this grant program. Ultimately, as the mayor mentioned, this application was not successful. Out of a $10 million program last year, and it's the same statewide funding amount this year, about $10 million, there was 10 times that in applications received throughout the state, so it was very competitive. Over the course of that time, the volunteer group, who was initially very active and very enthusiastic about raising money, I don't believe they've raised any money for that. The city previously had committed to putting up the match for the grant application, with the understanding that this was a project that was more community driven, and that ultimately, while the city was willing to match, I think it was somewhere around $115,000 or so, we were hoping to see, to reapply again, that we would see some movement in the fundraising area. I think that would make a stronger application for this type of project. So absent that, this is still something I would keep in our 5-year plan. It's still something, an asset that we have, we'd like to upgrade. There's interest in that. But through the park survey, which was really, gave us a good baseline, I think, of the communities, what people use at the parks most, where they'd like to see improvements. And what really stood out to me, and I think Judy as well, we were talking about it, and you can see this yourselves on the parks, on the Flashvote link website. You can search and select various filters to see, depending on the age demographic or gender or whatever it may be that people report, you can see how people use the parks and what they might want to see more of or improvements to. Restrooms really stood out as like the #1 priority. Obviously, we've had our large pavilions at both parks. Those restrooms are closed, and we've been using porta potties the last few years. People have reported they don't like those. They want to see something a lot nicer. And we think looking at Nilo Park in particular for a really nice prefabricated, vandal-resistant, potentially self-cleaning, a really nice modern bathroom complex could be something that would support a lot of existing facilities, including the skate park, understanding that that needs upgrades as well, the baseball field, the basketball courts, the playground area, the pavilions, and the trail system that all kind of converge around that large pavilion. So we think that, coupled with some ADA accessible playground equipment at the existing playground to supplement what's there, as well as potentially some benches and shade structures, those are the types of things that we saw there were a number of ideas, and you could go down the list and see exactly what the percentages were that people supported in park improvements, but I think those things combined we felt would make a good application because we're supporting a lot of existing services and facilities, as well as adding some, and I think including ADA accessibility, both the bathrooms and with the playground equipment, is something that I think everyone would support. We've talked about that before in our Parks Master Plan discussions over the years and haven't been able to implement it. So we were looking at a different angle, trying to find maybe a more competitive application in a very competitive grant program. And so that's why we're recommending changing gears this time around.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to go back to your point about future grants, this doesn't preclude having the city apply for another grant for the skate park. This is just for this particular grant,
Right.
kind of retooling it to make it more competitive. Is that correct?
Right. I mean, given the relatively small amount of funding, $10 million statewide, they had 10 times that, at least in applications last year. And we're trying to find the most competitive project. Maybe we get funded with something, and then if the city wants to pursue other projects, then we have city funds or potential other grants in the future to apply toward another project.
So we're putting money into them fixing the existing park because it needs fixing, the skate park.
The skate parks, based on my understanding from the discussions with the skaters, that group, they almost said it was not worth putting money into the existing park. They'd rather see a nicer facility built. Now that's
Right, but like
requires a
my
lot of funding.
kid goes and falls and busts her knee on it and has because it's jacked. The point is we need to do something.
Yes.
I'll be quiet.
I have a question.
Sir, you'll have
Why can't they just build?
Sir, you'll have a second opportunity to address the council in just a moment. Yeah, you will.
And may I add also, we spoke about this at length last night at the Park and Recreation Commission meeting, and the skate park committee is a young group. They're just not as organized as some of the other committees are. And so, no, I can tell you right now, they haven't done any specific fundraising. I don't think they're at that point yet, but Max White did tell us that they're retooling, American Ramp Company is retooling the design, so it will be half of what it originally was. Instead of a two-phase plan, it would be a one-phase plan, or much less than the original, about half the amount of money. So that's where they are with that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes.
And I just want to note that one of the things that I really appreciate about this is that the flash vote results were used, to guide the decision-making process here, because I know that was something that, we talked a lot about, and about how that tool could be used to, gather information from the public so that, when we're making decisions, we can use their input, and know, and I know, in addition to the flash vote, I think we've heard plenty of anecdotal, stories from folks about why we need the bathrooms, and anybody who's run events, in the park knows we need new bathrooms.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Mosher Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParisio.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is number 7. The Common Council authorizes the city administrator to execute a contract for the purchase of 2 37-passenger, 35-foot Gillig transit buses from Gillig, Livermore, California, in the amount of $1,299,204, utilizing the State of Washington Transit Bus Cooperative Purchasing Agreement, contract number 06719. to be funded with a New York State Department of Transportation Section 5311 capital grant, with the federal portion being $1,039,363.20, the state portion being $129,920.40, and the city portion being $129,920.40, funded from the restricted reserves within the city's enterprise fund. So, motion? Councilmember Walsh Campoli is first. Second is Councilmember Walsh herself. Okay, discussions, questions, comments? Yes.
Yeah, so this presumably, could we just get a little bit of lead up in terms of the, I don't know, the context for these purchases? Presumably they've been planned, this is a bus replacement, and just about, a little bit about like the future of the department and how these buses fit in, because I know we had talked about microtransit and considering that, and I feel like this is a big commitment to bigger, or the buses may be the same size, but they hold more people, so I'm just a little confused. I wanna understand the future of, public transit in the community before we commit to funding buses that are several years out.
Sure. At the last council meeting, the council approved the utilizing the contract from the state of Washington to purchase these buses. About a year, maybe 15 months ago, the council had approved the purchase of these buses through a state of Virginia contract because New York State DOT's process, whatever the case was, the timeline, that contract expired, which is why we had to start over with the Washington State contract. These purchases have already been approved by the council previously. This is just approving a contract for a different piggyback. These are replacing what we call the hillside buses. As it says here, there are 30-passenger international transit buses. The existing buses are slightly larger and much more cumbersome. They're, it's a large 11-inch step, which would be better overall for operations. We did have some discussions in previous iterations with Transportation Director Hoteling, who's not here tonight to talk to the specific need for these size buses. But based on those discussions, it was explained by him at that time that this is what we need right now. The microtransit study that we were looking at, piggybacking with the county on their study, that is still in progress. It hasn't really been done yet. And that's not necessarily something that would take the place of fixed route, but that would be maybe supplemental to it. And we have a contract with Hillside Commons to run this, and that is still something that's in place. And they did contribute to the cost of these buses originally. And that contract for the service is still there, so it is something we need to provide. That's about all I can share right now. I can't go into more detail than that on the need for the size of the bus without Mr. Hotel.
Yeah, that was very helpful. How long does that contract go for? Like, what's the term?
I can check.
I'm just curious, because aren't they selling one building?
I'm not sure about the status of the private.
You mean the hillside contract?
Yeah.
Oh.
That doesn't change. They're not vacating the building.
Okay.
They're still.
That was my question.
Yeah, no, they may be changing ownership, but they're not. The building still has lots of people in it.
Okay. Judy might know off the top of her head.
I believe the contract goes through mid-27.
97% full. Okay, great. Okay. Thank you. All right, that was all very helpful.
That question also suggests that they would be terminating that contract then?
Yeah.
Because of their bankruptcy or
Right.
the change, yeah. It sounds like no.
And I believe our current
like no.
contract.
It sounds like no. I was getting a. We don't.
Again, that's a decision that every management entity has entered into in order to provide services
Yes.
to the students who live there to get to campus, which then provides us with subsidies both the state and federal level. For term, and there was no reason to believe they would terminate this because it's one of the services that entices students to stay there. They have buses.
That does help.
Okay.
That was all very helpful.
Yes, oh, yeah. Councilman Walsh yourself.
Excuse me, this may be a question actually for just curious, are these fuel efficient? Like, what's the story with them in terms of their efficiency? They're smaller, so they're probably using less gas, but are they, moving in the direction of, like, I know they're not hybrid, they're not electric. I know that those versions of buses are not really on the horizon for us, but I'm just wondering if there's any possibility if down the line there could be more of an emphasis around looking at the efficiency in terms of
Yeah,
electric.
certainly, that's on the horizon at some point. Where that horizon is, I'm not sure, but these buses are, I'm not sure the exact efficiency of them.
Yeah.
They will meet fuel efficiency standards.
Yes, right.
But they're not electric or hybrid as well.
Right. But they are smaller, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, Chris, call the roll.
Councilmember Mosher Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParche.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington. Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion 8, that the Common Council authorizes the mayor and police chief to sign the public safety mutual aid agreement with the Otsego County Sheriff's Office, the City of Oneonta Police Department, and the Village of Cooperstown Police Department as presented, subject to review by the city attorney. Motion? Thank you. First, second, Councilmember Marks. Discussion? Before any questions or comments, sort of when I read this, I think what we discussed at the last meeting as far as ICE's agreement with the Sheriff's Office and what our police chief position has been, and this is not inconsistent with that. This is essentially a re-establishment of an already existing memorandum of understanding as far as supporting one another. It does not attach us to that other agreement. So, if you read it that way, that's how I read it too. I want to make sure that was clear. Other questions or?
Mayor Butterman, I'm glad you were explaining that to us and as well as people here watching. I think that's very important that people realize and understand. There's not that much.
That's the clarification I would need as well, so thank you.
We read it the same way, yeah. Question? Nope. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Mosher Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo.
Yes.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParche. Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Marks.
Yes.
Okay, now we move to the round table section, which there was one item. So I don't necessarily want to think of these as like 1, 2, 3, but more of the things to cover. So I think maybe we can cover the notice first, and then we'll move on to other parts. Okay. So the first part is a submission of a 30-day advance notice to local municipality liquor license. New liquor, wine, beer, and cider has been received from Orrick Christopher Weir for the property located at 437 Main Street. Are there any comments of any kind that we should include in our report? Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to ask, is that a license or is it for a new business at 437 Main Street? Because that's Humphreys East End Bistro is located at 437 Main. So is this a new business, a new owner
They reported it as a new license application
for the current owner?
for that business.
For that?
There's no business name associated with it,
Oh, okay.
but new applicant, new license. It's not a transfer or renewal.
Yes.
Well, I just saw actually Humphreys posted on Facebook today that they are closing and Jannings, which currently operates out of Review, is gonna be going into that space. So it'll be like a new restaurant in the Humphreys space.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Are there any concerns or anything that we should take note of? Okay, I think we can say that we can report this and without any negative comments or concerns.
And we were 30 days.
And that's correct, and waive the 30-day. That part's now done, yes. Okay, now the other part here, the Support of Dignity and Not Detention Act and New York for All Act. I think you might have already seen this resolution draft. I put it on the round table. There was a resolution that was passed, I think, in December. And so this had come forward, I think some other municipalities are considering it. So I thought it might be good for us to think about it. And in this setting, on the roundtable section, might be a good spot to start. and then from there, it may make its way through legislative committee. But I just want to hear your thoughts on it. You want to start? Any questions or thoughts? Yes, Councilmember
Well, I just
Lawler. So-
wonder to what extent now that the governor has created, it sounds like, a potential mandate for localities to not cooperate with ICE, how much this will be useful or effective for us?
It's a very good question. This was generated prior to that, so that could, in a sense, make this a moot point, in a sense. Yeah.
And so then that would, I have a follow-up question in terms of then, would it be necessary, even just on a symbolic level, to have something in addition like this that would allow us, just as a community, to have our own statement?
That's for discussion, right? For our discussion right now, yeah. Yes.
I mean, I know I, proposed and, advocated for this, and at this point, it does feel to me like, taking a wait to see what the state does would be prudent. I think we should keep this kind of, resolution on our radar, and, depending on what the state ends up doing, we may want to adopt something different, or maybe take, it might be that pieces of this, are still, effective, afterwards, but I think I have not had a full chance to, review this along with the governor's new proposal, so I think we need some time to study that.
Sure. I feel the same way. That things have changed very quickly, and we don't want to try to act faster than the things that are changing around us. So we want to be responsible and responsive in the way that reflects our community. So was that, did you have another?
I was going to say that I would be in favor of keeping this within our kind of, out there, floating around, but that we don't necessarily have to vote on it tonight.
Right. And part of that's why I put on roundtable is that it was for a discussion for us and not necessarily with an expectation of action. So we can leave it at that for tonight, knowing that things have changed since this agenda was created, and consider it again at our next meeting. And conditions will certainly change between now and then, and we'd always want to be ready to act depending on how things come to us. All right. So that concludes the itemized sections of the roundtable, but you're certainly free to bring things up that may have come to mind since this agenda was created. Yes?
So, I want to backtrack a little bit. On Monday, everybody knows I called Greg. And Greg dropped everything he was doing to call the county about what's going on with the cold weather and trying to get people, and a lot of miscommunication. And I asked Greg that, we need to get something that's uniformed along with the county, so that people that are asking questions, even if it's on our website, can get there. Because the county doesn't use Facebook or some of the other platforms. I was misled a little bit, or under a wrong impression that the Armory would be open, that it wasn't just for electrical outages or something like that, that during this time that it was an actual station for people to go. I will eat that. That is my fault. I should have asked more questions and been on top of that more as a public official. I do apologize for that. Since then, I understand, we're trying to work with the county, but we're going to look at -30 wind chills again this weekend. And I think we need to push harder on the county to make sure that, at least if anything, that our armory is opened for the weekend and that it's adequately staffed so that we can get people in there. And while that's only a quick short-term solution, I think, we have to come up with a better solution for every winter that we can enact as emergency services. Our departments, I know we don't have staffing to staff them, and, I know sometimes we get the budget, we sit there and we're hammering out the budget, but if we have to dip into our reserves for a couple of days to help staff something somehow, I think that that's well worth doing so. And, years old and I'm pushing 50. I've been in emergency services all my life, and all I've ever done is help people. So to get there and feel like I got caught with my pants down around my ankles was not a great feeling. So I would at least like to try to do something for this weekend, so we can have something there, and we can get it advertised so our people know, and then we have to take on the bigger issue definitely for next year, and pray that we get some warmer weather coming here shortly. Thank you.
Yes.
So I want to I'll start by saying that I completely agree that I think we need immediate solution to what sounds like will be another cold weather emergency this weekend. So I think we absolutely need clarity. I want to pull back a bit in terms of looking more generally at emergencies and speak to the work that we've already done as a city in terms of assessing our vulnerabilities. And we know that the data that's out there has shown that we are in fact quite vulnerable to a range of different kinds of emergencies. And our task as a council, our fundamental task, is really the health and safety of our residents, as has been repeated, I think, tonight a few times. So just to reiterate that, I want to put forward just a couple of ideas as both in terms of long-term and maybe a little bit shorter-term paths or pathways. And that is one I've been thinking since I've been on council for the past 2 years, that have never been clear as to what our role is as council when it comes to emergency planning. And so I would like clarity about when there is an emergency, my residents need to have their council member respond in a way that ensures their safety. And so I want to make sure that I am tasked and clear about those responsibilities. So I want clarity around what is our role. So for example, there was a meeting last week that included county members, various county reps, and there were no council people from the city of Oneonta there. And I think we should have been there, at least one, if not more than one, to hear from the county, to hear how the county was understanding their choices around their communication strategy, etc. So I would like clarity about what our role is. I want greater clarity. So that's short and long term. I also think that we, as a city, should, in order to ensure the safety and health of our community members, should employ a full-time emergency planning and sustainability manager. Emergencies don't just happen without training, without the kinds of processes in place so that people are able to respond and save lives. And when I was talking last week about the need for this position, and I understand our budgets are always tight. However, I think we would be saving ourselves millions in terms of the kinds of economic precarity an emergency could bring to our city. So, for example, when I was discussing this, I mentioned the example of September 11th, that thousands of people evacuated the Twin Towers on 9/11 because they had been trained to do so. They had the bombing in 1993, and subsequently the Port Authority, etc., had put into place training so that people were able to evacuate calmly and safely. And in post-mortem analyses of 9/11, that training was, the indications seem to provide that training is really what saved people's lives. And so I think we have to have somebody full-time who is thinking constantly and enacting the kinds of emergency training that we need. So that's my inelegant way of making a bad case. And then the third suggestion is more of a short-term solution, which is, I'm a member of the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, which is a New York State program that looks at all different facets of municipal life in terms of sustainability. And there is a heat management plan in place that cities can use, and it's a step-by-step process that looks at infrastructure, both in the built environment as well as social infrastructure, which is what we've heard from today. It's really the social infrastructure in Oneonta that's in place that is so valuable and that we really, really need to tap into in terms of our training and in our planning for emergencies. And so this management plan from Climate Smart Communities could give us, I think, a really useful roadmap, and I'm going to share it with the council. That could then allow us, step by step, how do we create at least a cold weather emergency plan. The CSE New York State plan is for heat management, but of course heat management is not necessarily where our vulnerability right now is as a community. So I just wanted to put forward those three ideas, as nascent maybe as they are, just to kind of get us thinking about where we can go in terms of emergency planning. So personnel, having a step-by-step process in place, and then really nailing down, and this is really, I think, the question that I would ask the fire chief as emergency, head of emergency planning. Where is the council in this planning?
We need to do something now. So, what are our options? What are our resources? Like, what are city-owned buildings that we can utilize currently?
Well, the Armory is the one that seems to come up the most. That's the one that would be a good eligible space for it. The challenge, as Councilman Harrington said, is we aren't the ones that can staff it, though. So the way the county had described it, which, as you mentioned, was not interpreted the way they had thought it would be interpreted, as far as the use of certain spaces, including the Armory. So as I understand the process, is that if we essentially trigger or activate through the county, they then essentially use the Armory as a space that they are operating as a place for sanctuary. We'll get to just a moment. Does that make sense? So it's not us that does it. Even though the building is in the city, it's the county that would then operate that there. They have the staff or the resources to do that, not us. That's not to say it's pushing to them, it's saying that they're the ones that are equipped to do that there.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
The people who, I'm sorry, your mom, for staffing at the church.
Yes.
You guys are all volunteers too?
We're all volunteers.
Okay.
I mean, we're all come from different backgrounds. I mean, my son is an athlete, you know, I mean,
So
he's never
couldn't we utilize who, they're already together, they're already working?
Let's hear from.
No?
We cannot use public funds for private people. Don't argue with me, I'm not talking to you.
Sir?
I'm talking to the council. If you want to use funds, you can't give charitable funds, and you can't employ people.
I won't say volunteer.
Yeah, volunteers and volunteers.
Excuse me, sir, just let
You
them.
cannot use volunteers. Except in programs that we supervise. If someone wants to come and work in the park, they can sign waivers and work under city supervision as a volunteer. Is that what you're asking that?
I'm sorry, yeah, well, yes, I was confused. So we need someone to supervise them then if there's volunteers.
If they're on city property and fulfilling a city program that's maintained by the city and funded by the city.
Yeah.
I think this is really where it becomes an issue where we need to advocate to the county to provide these services. My understanding is that New York State law is, mandates that every county is responsible for providing these services to all citizens.
Yes.
So that is how it's supposed to go. So say, for example, if the emergency wasn't weather related, an outage, what difference would that make if it's an outage or it's weather-related code blue, can we still access the armory?
As I understood it, the emergency activation from the county wasn't necessarily a code blue thing. It's just if there's an emergency, they have their protocol.
Okay, so can a code blue be considered an emergency so we could use the armory?
As in my, so Councilmember Walsh-Rousseau said, there was a meeting on Thursday that I attended along with other folks. And it was largely the county officials, the emergency management office, the county administrator, and some other officials, including some of the board representatives, describing what they had in place, where they made some errors in the communication, like we've already discussed, and what they can do sort of going forward. So that meeting was about an hour and a half. And a large part of the meeting was the communication that they are unable to do, like what Councilmember Harrington was saying, as far as how they share information, and they don't have a communications person. So I think the communications that came thereafter were from Steve Wilson. But in their description, if they're looking, when they were thinking about the use of the Armory or those other sites that they identified, they were looking at it as if there's an event, it could be a power outage, it could be something else, if an event that displaced people from their homes or otherwise, that needed to go somewhere, a large-scale event, that's how they looked at it. So in their view of the last week or so, a large-scale change did not happen. So they're saying that they have provided services to X number of people in Oneonta plus other parts of the county. And that was what they've extended, like the hotels and with the warming station being open 24/7. Those are the kinds of actions that they were taking. And the numbers of people being served that they were serving were not increasing in that dramatic way that would then cause them to want to open the Armory and staff it for a large-scale system. That's a 1 hour and a half sort of condensed there. So, sir, you'll have your moment. I just want to make sure council members have their chance. We will, yes.
Another thing that came out of the conversation.
You will have a chance. You will have a chance.
Another thing that came out of the conversation with Greg and stuff, he said that they had room up in Cooperstown area with the metals and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get them from point A to point B? Is that on a county bus? Is that, can the city do that on a city
Yes.
bus? Or
Go
I'm
ahead.
kind of looking at Dave because
Sure.
I know there's probably legal.
The county has opened up space on Main Street at their office here in Main Street as well. They, you know, also as in regards to like the use of the Armory is different than Code Blue, right? The Code Blue is very specific to certain temperatures for unhoused individuals, and that's where DSS meets their needs first through the warming station. Then they have hotels locally that they use. If they can't find space for folks here, they will even go out of county. I have been assured by Department of Social Services, Opportunities for Otsego, and the warming station that Code Blue is able to meet the needs of anybody who presents at the warming station for Code Blue. They have to present at the warming station, okay? Even folks who have been, you know, put on a list that they can't be placed at one hotel or another, they will find a hotel where the person can be placed. Without exception, they told me.
Thank you. Yes.
Can I ask what the requirements are for someone to staff or supervise a team of volunteers?
You mean from the city view? Maybe that might, Mr. Resnick on that.
I'm not sure what your question is.
So the requirements for someone who is staffed to supervise a team of volunteers, is there a specific limit, number of volunteers, staff?
Again, you're asking about 10 questions all at once.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If the city has a program, like parks, or the Greenway, where we clearly accept volunteers to work for the city as volunteers, then they have to work under the direction of a city employee at a city facility. And they have to sign volunteer waivers, which say that they don't do what they're told. And so if they're injured, they waive liability for injury. And so they have to be, that's how we avoid liability. If someone gets injured, say that they're working for us or they injure someone else, we are going to be ultimately responsible for them, for anyone they injure, for anyone that they represent, say that they represent the city, where we have authorized them to act on our behalf. And it has to be under the context of a program our program. We can't volunteer people to other people's programs because it's not our program. The city doesn't do that. We don't have a volunteer program.
So can I answer that?
In just a moment, yes, you will have a chance, yes,
We should
we'll
let
make sure.
Again, if there is a city program that the city wants volunteers for, then we can talk about that, because we already have mechanisms in place for volunteer programs here in the city. But we can't simply say, you're acting on our behalf as a volunteer. When we do that, we take them on essentially as employees. And we can't do that with untrained people.
Good?
Can I get on to that one?
Sir, I'll give you one moment, if you could, because it's not petition time, so if you have a question, quickly.
I'm autistic, so my brain doesn't work like the way you work it. Like when you answer a question or ask a question, you just get everybody should be able to answer it.
So, sir, just for, yeah, good question. This section is essentially, you're observing the discussion between the council members. So you are not an active, or anyone in the gallery here is not an active participant in that part of the conversation.
We the people to stand for you guys.
Understood. And so, that's what,
Make a decision.
understood, and why we have a second opportunity to address the council. So you would have an opening to do that, but at this time, it's for council members to discuss things with each other. And you get to observe that interaction, and then there'll be another time for you to either ask questions or give comments later. That's why I said you'll have another chance.
Well, I feel like I do have a suggestion to solve your problems.
Can you hold that, sir, for that right moment, so we make sure the council members have their time at this part of the agenda? Okay. I will be looking to you first when we get to our next opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. All right. Yes, Councilmember Price.
So, my question is with Elaine. Since you've been interacting with DSS and other nonprofits that this is their mission statement, you've definitely tapped on the fact that this valid ID is like this massive boulder that they gotta crawl over in order to have these services. Did they relate to you that we're not gonna have this issue anymore? Because this is how this all started, is because people are being rejected at the door because they don't have a valid ID. And so is DSS and those other organizations that are supporting these services, are they saying, we're not gonna look for that, we're just gonna open our doors
They
and figure
told me anybody who presents can get it. Also, folks who need help with their IDs, I've also been in contact with Shenango County Catholic Charities. They have the Safe Option Support Program, SOS, and they provide outreach to the chronically homeless. They have already been in contact, I know, with a number of these folks, but helping them get ID is one of the things that they can assist with.
Yeah, because they need their birth certificate, and then they need a mailing address to get the birth
Exactly, and
certificate.
putting all
It's
of
just
this
this
together.
hamster wheel that just keeps going and going.
It's one of the things that Pastor Bradley and I talked about was sort of a plan that maybe some other churches had done, is where they could be a safekeeping for IDs. Because if you get an ID, you might lose the ID. And the First United Methodist Church has sort of interested maybe they could be a safekeeping place for IDs. So if someone can give it to them, and of course they know who that is, right? Because they have a relationship with them. They could hold that and keep it safekeeping, and so then when they need to present it, it reduces the risk of losing it. So that's something that we've sort of found some ideas of how we can work on our cold weather plan going forward, and that was one of the ones that we could do, some line item action items, but I'm not sure who was first. Go ahead.
Well, if I could, I just want to build on this idea because I brought up the connection with SOS, the Safe Option Supports. And I think that might have a really beneficial connection for our city and for our county in general. Because, I described for them, what was going on here. They'd read about it in the newspaper, and they told me that they are experiencing similar issues across the counties that they serve. So I do want folks to know this is a serious issue. It's a problem that has been building up for years. It is not just a problem here. It is being recognized as a problem throughout our region. Okay, so this is something that's being dealt with. SOS actually engaged in professional level discussions yesterday in Norwich that included provider agencies, municipality, lots of representatives, stakeholders in this, okay? And so they were looking forward to see how that went because they felt that might be a model that could be really useful here in Oneonta. So I'm going to keep everybody updated on that. They are also part of the ad hoc committee, and I know the mayor and I just spoke about setting up the next meeting for the ad hoc committee to hear about this inventory of resources, and how we can maybe tie that in with what the work that group is doing. Because I definitely noticed, over the past week and a half especially, and really during the past couple of years, that I've been doing advocacy work around housing and homelessness, is that there is a lot of confusion about what is available and how to access it. So I think that we can gain a lot of clarity around that and, help, connect those resources, because that's what I'm hearing is needed.
It's Councilmember Q and then Walter Sims. Yes, please.
So ultimately, we're gonna open up the armory for the county to come and set up.
There's an if there. When the county sees a need as the way they've defined it, then they say, can we use it? We say yes. Is that right? Answer your
When is
question,
it
or?
that they determine the need in the moment?
If there is a large number of people that they cannot serve otherwise in an emergency situation, that's when they would look to us, or other sites, wherever those people may be. So, for example, I think I was talking to Brian Knapp about this in 2022. There was I think on River Street, there was a large-scale power outage, and they set up at the armory in response to that. Because the numbers of the houses that were affected showed that there was a large number of people that at that time may need to go somewhere. So because of the scale of the number of people that were affected by that event, they opened the armory in 2022 for that purpose. So the county, looking at those kinds of numbers, if they're seeing a large-scale number, then they're going to ask us, and of course we're going to say yes. But as it is right now, they have not, the numbers that they've described, the people that they are serving, are essentially within their resources that they have already in place. Like Councilmember Mitch said, hotels, people who have been placed in hotels or the warming station, they are not exceeding that capacity as yet, so that they would then ask us to use the armory. And I've talked to, I forget the names, I'm sorry, at the Department of Social Services, their names, and they've
Lisa and Sarah.
Lisa, thank you. About the number of people that they are helping. And when they report it, they say, we've helped these people, these numbers of people, they don't give you the names, but the number of people that they're helped. And they've been able to, those that have accepted the services that they're offered have been placed in either a hotel or the warming station. So that's what I'm saying, in their eyes or in their position, they're saying that we're able to continue operations in the way that we have prior to this cold weather condition we're in, and so they have not asked us for the armory because they don't see a large scale number of people that need to be served.
If I can jump in.
Yeah, please.
Everyone here has a county representative who represents us on the Otsego County Board of Representatives. Wards 1 and 2 is Nora Mendez. Wards 3 and 4 is Adriana Martini. Wards 5 and 6 is Michelle Packer. Wards 7 and 8 is Jill Castillo. Contact them instead of asking our support people what the county's doing and what their terms are, what their conditions are. Talk to your elected representatives who represent you on our county. Unfortunately, there seems to be a disconnect between the city and the county and the people who represent the city, who represent us. We do not run DSS. We never have. We don't have we have the statutory authority, nor the employees, nor the ability to do that. That's a count. So the county does. We have county representatives. Contact your county representatives and demand that they provide you with the services and that they answer those questions that you're having regarding support services for people who are located here in the city of Winona.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to go back to my initial question, which was, I would still really very much like to know what, more generally, is the role of the council when we have these kinds of weather-related emergencies and emergencies in general. So, and that's not a question for us necessarily, maybe contrary to what Shannon was asking, what we're going to find out tonight, but more in general, I would like to put that forward.
In part, when I opened the opening remarks as far as taking the inventory and working on our water resources, volunteer spaces, those things, I feel there is a role in the council in that part because we can identify within our community in addition or supplemental or aside from what the county has. Because we are a place where there's a number of people that need to be served, and you can walk around Oneonta to see buildings and things that might be beneficial. So if the council, one or two members want to participate in that process, I would very much like to have that happen. But you had asked me before, as far as in my role, attending those meetings, like with the county officials, I feel is in my responsibility then to inform the council of what I've learned and what they are doing. As Mr. Merzick said, there's also the county representatives, and I couldn't see, part of it was on Zoom. I know Jill Basile was at that. I couldn't tell if the other three were there just because I couldn't see everyone. Some were on Zoom, some were in person, so it's hard to tell. And the camera was moving, because it was automatic moving cameras. So I know at least Jill was there participating in the conversation. I don't know if the other three of those, not to say they weren't, I just can't say. But I reported to you what I experienced in that meeting, what was discussed, and I'll continue to do that, and that's how I see my role as advising the council on those matters. In addition to what you might do. Yes?
I would just like to say that I don't know that I'm the right person, the right representative from council to be involved. But I do also, like, Councilmember Walsh-Russo have some thoughts about things that might benefit our community broadly and fill this need. And so I would like to participate in some way in the task force. I want to echo Councilmember Moshkin-Foley's statements about the county. I did reach out to Adrian and Jill, who I have a personal relationship with, and ask them questions, updates, things like that. So your explanation of the meaningful expansion of the number of people who need services being the trigger for expanding the services makes sense. I know that DSS went to the Methodist Church and spoke with folks who were there, and there were no new faces. Everyone who was there has previously had contact with DSS, and so that makes sense. And they were able to get several folks, most of the folks there, into housing. I know that there are some barriers with that because it's not 24/7, and that makes it really challenging. I think that that's a space where advocating for expanded services would be really meaningful because it has been really cold during the day as well. There are places that folks can go, like the library has been very vocal, like please come. They have a period pantry, which is cool. There's a laundromat right there, so, and that's right next to the church, so that's convenient. But I think, so anyway, so I think that expanding those services to also be during the day would be a really great thing to advocate for. Additionally, I would like to see some group of us and the relevant parties take a look at our city emergency management plan. I was just sidebarring with Greg because I know I've seen it, but it needs updating. And to Councilmember Walsh-Russo's point, maybe just reviewing annually, especially as things continue, to change with the climate. I think that makes a lot of sense, and our resources. And there was one other thing that I was going to say, but I can't remember it now. So that's thank you.
Comments? Yes.
I will.
Yeah,
I'll
jump
blur it right
in,
out.
jump
Don't
right
worry.
in. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
So, I wanna back up again.
Keep backing up.
I kinda started it.
It
Katie,
always
you wanna go
comes back-
first?
It always comes back right after. No, I could maybe save it for the task force. I think that's fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, don't worry.
I'm gonna write it down. But I'll have it.
When I brought up that, what I was originally bringing up was, and I don't want anybody to beat Greg up. Greg was very supportive. Greg dropped everything. Greg started making the calls. Greg did that, because Greg and I spent probably almost a half an hour on the phone trying to find information, how to get information out, and we couldn't find it. And maybe if we could find a way between now and then to get the information, even if we could tag it on our website so somebody could find it, make it easier, because it was very hard to find the information. And that's really when I started this, was the conversation, was communication, and the fact that Greg did drop everything on his busy day on a Monday, when we all come into work, we all know we're busy, But to drop that for, I don't know how long it took him, but we had information back probably 2 hours after him and I hung up off the phone. And, you know, it really came back to communication, and then he found out a lot more information that we didn't have information on. And then I didn't know that there was this meeting, and then you brought that out too, Mayor, which was great, that, you know, there was this meeting, which was, you know, but again, I kind of felt like we were in the dark. Not from you guys, but overall in the dark, because I couldn't find communication to get a constituent of mine that was emailing me, and Elaine's the one that stepped in to answer it for me, because I'm sitting there going, I don't know. So, you know, that's what I said when I didn't have a good feeling, fuzzy feeling on this one.
Like I said, a large amount of that meeting was focused on the communication from the county as far as what they need to do better in the areas of communication. Aside, they're looking at sort of a debrief from the weekend before, and what was communicated before the weekend, what was communicated during the week, communicated during the weekend, and then sort of live and learn, and try to do better. And it was said several times about a county communication spokesperson or publicity officer, whatever it might be, someone who would be that conduit information so we all get it. That came up. They didn't settle on any one particular idea, but was brought forward in different versions, and a number of people were interested in making that work. That's what the county needs to do. Yes.
Yeah. So just to follow up, the communication piece underlines it for me as well. Like, it feels like it really. The crisis feeling over this stemmed from the miscommunication, and that's where it started off. And it just strikes me that at least half of this council misunderstood what that flyer said. The provider agencies that I spoke with did not understand the county's intent. So I think that just holding that out, that there was a break in communication that then caused a break in the services for individuals. They connected with a place that was not able to provide them services. It was like a dead end, and then the community was very worried about what would happen to those individuals. So, I just want to call that out as something, because even though I do want to acknowledge all the great work, of these many agencies, that are in our community, DSS, everybody who, works to meet the needs of some folks whose needs can be very challenging to meet at times. So the PIT count, the point in time count, was conducted just a week prior to the storm as well. And I don't have that number with me right now, but the number did go up as far as I understand. It's a little over 40, I believe. So that is something to pay attention to. Like when we say, these service provider agencies, they are doing the services that they have been doing. This is the work that they have been doing, but they have seen number increases. The warming station, with 10 beds is now seeing 20 to 25 every night. Okay, so the numbers have gone up, and they are meeting the needs, but obviously it is a very stressed system that needs support.
I mentioned it before, the expense when I talked to Ed Fraser, the county board chair. He had alignment with us that we need to do better with Code Blue. We being mostly them, as far as the county, and then advocating to the state. When they pass their budget, they need to fund it for more. And whether they do it or not, I don't know. But I think we can describe for them the challenges that are experienced in our community and how they can help do that. And like I said, if the numbers are going up, we need to expand our capacity. And that could come in the form of expanding Code Blue, or it can come in the form of, I'm not sure where it came from, but 365 shelter, 24/7, having these available. But we can't rely on the state for everything. And we can't necessarily, I don't want to necessarily wait for that. So that's where the idea came up as far as doing our own inventory, knowing what we can do, because the first thing I know, this church did a very good thing, but we can't rely on them to do everything and do more than they've already done. And we saw from the public interest in some of the videos that were posted and what was going on in the church, there's a lot of desire to make this happen in our community, and looking around at what we can do. But in a sense, we're not necessarily organized that way, and we need to get that organized, which is physical space as well as volunteers, and knowing up front what we can and cannot do. So the first thing about the church can do some things. Maybe another church can do something as well. We still need to know what that is. And once we know what that is, power comes from information, and we can do a lot more if we know what exactly we have to work with. was any other items that you'd like to talk about roundtable?
I just want to say that
Yes.
I personally would, just as a council person of one of, 8, I personally would like to, I think the communications piece, Councilmember Osher Campoli and I were talking about this previous. For me, the compelling story here is really the emergency planning, that's really the missing piece, and the communications dimension to this is, certainly a chunk of the story, but really what to me holds is the lack of real kind of knowledge about what steps need to be taken and who takes those steps. So for me, the social infrastructure is really key, and as I said earlier, we saw it tonight, and its powerful role in helping us understand where that planning should come from. So I just want to just say, for me, it's about the emergency planning more than
Thank you.
all of it. So I just want to put that out there again.
I got it.
Find it.
You have another topic? Yeah?
Another topic.
Please.
So much for a quick meeting, I apologize. So, Greg, with the last snowstorm that we just had, with our resources, with our salt inventory, how much did we blow through a lot? And with another pending snowstorm, rumor out there, another pending snowstorm coming, what is, like, where do we sit budget-wise? Are we got to dip into anything to be?
I haven't been alerted to any issue yet. We're in the early part of the year, so our entire budget's available. I'm not sure how much has been ordered. I don't know exactly how much is in the salt shed. I could find that out. But if there were an issue or a need for additional orders and we didn't have the funding for it, we would have heard about it for sure. But I'll check that out.
And getting the cars off the road so our plows could do their job was okay, maybe?
About normal, I would say. Obviously, you've seen Nixles going out. DPW's clearing along certain streets, and they're posting temporary parking signs to try to clear those out. Those narrow streets in the downtown areas with a lot of pedestrian activity, especially. But yeah, there were, I don't have numbers, but there were quite a few cars still out on the roads during the storm.
Thanks.
And Greg, have those vehicles been ticketed or removed at all? No, so they're just plowed around them?
Well, they plow around them, and they should be ticketed as well, and I could get a report. I started doing that, haven't completed it yet, but I can get a report on how many were ticketed and where. If that's helpful. I was going to bring that to the quality of click.
It makes it very difficult to pass through many of these streets, especially in the morning with the Oneonta City School District buses. Throughout many of the streets, Spruce Street, East Street, typically the line going up East Street is from the intersection of East and Center all the way to the S-curve to the front door of the high school. And I noticed today there was a couple of cars parked on the wrong side of the street, and there was people couldn't get by, and it really can be a problem, especially if we have an emergency situation. So to make sure that people understand they really need to remove their cars during this, 2.5–3 inches of snow or beyond, and even now, because the city is trying to remove snow from the streets so we can pass and get through. Okay, so it's really concerning to me that cars are continually not abiding by the snow removal limits time to move the cars.
Thank you. So, one more?
I would actually like to piggyback on this. So I almost saw a mother and her baby struck by 2 vehicles yesterday on Chestnut Street. It was rather alarming. 3 of our vehicles, we all locked brakes. She decided that the street, Chestnut Street, where more than 10,000 vehicles go every day, was safer than the sidewalk that wasn't cleared out. It wasn't a city sidewalk, it's a private sidewalk. And so I would implore all of us to talk to our neighbors and say, hey, please clean your sidewalk, because I'd rather see that than the alternative. So please get the news out that people should have their sidewalks for now day 1, 4, 5, 6. So
Yes, go ahead.
That exact thing. So additionally, if you have a fire hydrant in front of your house, you just take a second and
almost there. We're almost there. I know. I'm coming right to you. We're almost there.
I was just gonna say, why don't the city that plows the sidewalk not slow down a little bit so the snow don't get up on the fire? That would save the problem.
Some of them are actually plowed.
Yeah, they plow really fast.
Yeah, they go pretty quick. Thank you. Yes.
I was gonna say just watching out too for maybe like elderly folks that are out there, people with varying abilities, who may not be able to get out and shovel sidewalks. It may not be that they're just avoiding it and don't want to do it. They may not be able to. So checking in with them. And I wanted to remind people, 12 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. tonight, Reynolds Avenue, Cozy Avenue, Pine Street, and Valley View are all going to be plowed.
And I was just gonna say, I appreciate, because we were talking about the bus routes and, safe access to the schools. I really appreciate that Valley View is getting that time, because
So excited
we
for
have
yourself.
not been able to discuss it on the Quality of Life and Infrastructure Committee yet, but that is, a topic that has been raised, just general accessibility for that road. So thank you for attention to that.
I want to get to you, sir. So we're coming right to you. We're going to finish the roundtable section. I just want to conclude a couple things because it's sort of our last chance for discussion. We started at 5:30 tonight. We talked about it as a new thing. I want to know, between now and the next meeting, if this is a good time or if there might be adjustments. Don't have to answer now. I just want to say it so you think about it. And then I keep notes as far as what we're discussing right now, so hopefully this will in part form the agenda creation for the workshop meeting. None of the things that we discuss right now, I'll try to put together in a way that we can have another continued discussion on some of the things that require our attention, not just today or tomorrow, but also throughout the year that we need to be attentive to, like emergency planning. Right now, we're thinking about a cold weather emergency plan, but there's also potential emergencies in July, right? So we need to have an overall emergency plan that is something that we can all understand and see. So, those are my notes for tonight as far as follow-up goes. But thank you for the discussion and your input. So now you're up. Thank you for your patience and waiting.
I tried us holding it.
I really thank you for waiting and staying with us.
To solve the problem, we have Ames over on the south side that's been closed down since 1999. Why don't we turn that to a warming station? That considered keeping the armor free for the fire chiefs and the police department to do their things and the kids. There's a lot of room, and there's very little less damage to that building for you guys. You put up a sheetrock, boom, and the wall vinyl tape. That's it. That's probably like I say $1,000. That building would solve everything, and then you put $300-400 in bed. And that would solve the right there is you got the Family Dollar store. Everything's right there on West End, and I know the city we're talking about how the homeless people is like making it look bad when the traffic come down here for the summer, the ballpark. Everybody's like, oh my God, and they're scared. Well, if that's the problem, like some of the druggies, we can turn the Ames into like a halfway house / home for them to get better. Like Anthony, he posted like the 300, the 3200 building over there. Like they're very minimum to these buildings that they're just getting damaged so long that they're sitting there not being used. So why don't we turn that? The second one was, yes, I believe every one of us, the people, all right, I'm an 80s baby, so anything that has to do with a female, that's a man's job. We as men should be able to walk out there, shovel that sidewalk. We the people, that's volunteering, that's free work. The state don't pay for it. Even volunteering. There's a sign on the website. You can down $50. You can go right down by where the oh my God, it used to be the dollar store right across from the police station. Now it's Green Earth. But right down the road, you pay $50 community service. You should be able. It's 180 hours to do a volunteer service. I took it like 10 years ago, so I have volunteer service at the card certificate. I believe the Oneonta should be able to get these. The people who can't work or can want to work, they should be able to volunteer. That would solve the problem. The city gets already paid regardless of the amount of people here. So why don't we give something for these people to do? Even the homeless people, I hear them, they want a job, but they can't work due to they don't have ID or the background, or they've never had a job for so long. They want to work and they can't. They're just stuck. are motivators and we are motivator speakers. We should be able to lift this whole world up as a community. I believe we all can do this. And I also think, one other thing, what was it? She was just saying, why would you take out the parking garage? They said 300, that could easily be turned into a warming station. Like, all you had to do was fix the roof and the ceilings, the concrete structure, bam, that was solved. And yeah, well, man, of tender love and care, that's how I feel. A little bit of elbow grease. I think you guys should, like, reinstate, like, his question of saying the city only allows this, that, and April. No, I believe we should be able to help regardless of being paid. Like, I would do it for, I'm a bartender, so I'd rather work for someone to make a nice meal and do it for free than be able to say, yo, give me some money and I'll go help. That I know I'm not gonna get the, God is not gonna let me walk through that door looking at me saying, yeah, we took money over a helping hand. So I believe, and we all go to church, right? I believe everybody prays. Not being a beautiful weather day, and we all make it to make life easier. I think we should get him to open that door for more people to volunteer to be able to such. Because if kids from high school and college can volunteer, why can't people in his 30s or 40s or 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? I believe that should be pushed. And the taxes on him, we should go to Home Depot and Lowe's and talk to them, because I know through the state of California, all out through the government, the contractors that own it are free laborers. So they should help the having companies like them here. 84, you guys remember 84 Lumber? They used to come up, send a couple workers, do it for free, just to show the appreciation of having their company here. Home Depot used to do that before before Dale Earnhardt died. I remember when Home Depot got put in, they changed half of Oleana, made it look nicer, helped out with the flower pots, helped out with everything. We should be able to knock on them doors and be like, listen, you guys been here taking money from the people and it don't go in the community. I believe would be possible, and I guarantee, especially the corporate manager, he would love someone to come knock down and say, yes, you need a hand? Oh, let me give it to you, because I know the corporate there, through Lowe's and Home Depot, and they're just waiting for somebody to say, hey, help, you need a hand.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This is, since it's other.
Ladonna, is
Oh,
you
yes.
talk?
Okay, yes, please. Thank you,
First,
thank you.
Chief, I want to say thank you. Thank you
Yes,
for
thanks.
owning a mistake. I appreciate it. We had a lot of people with high passion. And yeah, we'll own our mistake as well. But thank you, because I know from hearing you, you are an empathetic individual. So thank you. And on another note, boy, this is a diamond in the really rough, I'll tell you that. Because a lot of what everybody spoke about, none of that happened. As many times as we called social services, or Catholic charities, or whatever, they would not call us, they would not communicate with us, even Pastor tried calling. I mean, that's a problem. Just because we're a volunteer group, doesn't mean you shouldn't answer us, okay? We pay your salary, so, you owe it to us to answer us. At this point, what we've got, the most disheartening and disingenuous thing that I found, Mayor Butterman was the only one that walked into our warming shelter the first day. Not anybody else came in to sit there, to watch what went on, to look at the individuals we were servicing. That was really disappointing to me. I really expected people, whether it be from the Sixth Ward or any of this, to come in to just look at what we were doing. And that didn't happen. So I will tell you that is a big disappointment for all the volunteers across the board. And Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities has the responsibility on that warming shelter. The county gave them the responsibility. you know, yet everybody's out on the street at 7:30 in the morning at minus 14 degrees. I mean, how is that acceptable? You wanna extend your shelter, oh, this weekend it's gonna be open 24/7 till Monday morning. What happens on Monday morning? They did extend the people stay in the motel, which is great. We put up a few people in a few motels, we extended them as well, like followed the suit. But next week is gonna be another problem. You know, money's gonna run out. I mean, yes, we were blessed with many donations, but money's gonna run out. Okay, the city, not the city, Catholic Charities, they need to take responsibility and keep that shelter open 24/7 right now. Period. I mean, there should be no other talking, whatever. If you need volunteers, if you need people to work, well, then that's something that has to be done. But people coming out at minus 14 at 7:30 in the morning, that's not appropriate. I had 2 gentlemen come out of the hospital yesterday. One had a heart attack and was, recouping from that, and he was out on the street at 7:30 in the morning. You could have easily just succumbed to that again. So, we have to be a little bit more aware of what's out there. And without anybody looking and coming, you only see the bad stuff on Main Street. You couldn't come in to see the good stuff that we witnessed. That's what I gotta say.
Thank you. You're right on 3 minutes, too, precise.
Excuse me?
Right on 3:50. Right on the 3 minute. You nailed it. Yes.
My name is Reverend Madonna Clark. I'm the founder of Church and Mother Life Movement, and I also live at 6.5 Luther Street. And the first thing I want to say is, God said, "What you do unto the least of these, you've done it unto me." I believe what Brother Anthony stood up and did was a wake-up call, not only to the city, but to the people, and to us as humans. I went over, I looked in their faces, I talked to them, I heard their stories. Some of them will break your heart, but some of them remind you that if it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for this person, they're alive. When I worked in corrections, I used to tell the inmates, I see you as human beings, because I could live right where you are. Be respected for that. The unhoused are human beings. They bleed red blood. And in a town of, I don't know how many thousand, if we can't take care of 30, 35 people to keep them out of the cold and help them to get necessary services, shame on us. Shame on us. So, everybody can't do everything. Nobody can do that. But everybody can do something. So, I will continue to work with Code Blue. And, I'll be watching, listen, trying to see how we can build some bridges.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to? Yes. It was Lily, correct? Right. Thank you.
So I want to piggyback off of what she said about the warming station. They do in fact ask for ID. They kick you out at 7:30. And our main thing is where are they going during the day and how are we to keep them safe. I know a lot of people are being put in 88, Motel 88. I've heard that some of them don't have heat, some of them don't have microwaves or TVs. So, I know you probably can't do anything about that, but if you could try and figure out about something like that. Just more or less where we need something. Yeah, we're trying to help as much as we can, but we can't do everything. So we're trying to figure out what we can do. That's why we're here. We want to know how can we help and how can you help.
Let us help you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we want to help you to help us. Like,
Help them.
yeah, to help them. That's really our goal.
Thank you. Yes.
Reverend Casey Bradley, pastor of First Methodist Church Oneonta. My address is 41 Ford Ave. I've had the privilege of serving and living in this community for the last couple of years. I've had the privilege of working with some of the most generous and kind and compassionate people. I've had the amazing opportunity to welcome people, not only coming to Oneonta for the first time, but coming to America for the first time, who now call this city their home. I've also seen so many people who have been left behind. First Methodist Church has always been open to our unhoused neighbors. When it's warm out, people will come in to use the restroom, get a cup of coffee, charge their phones. During the colder months, we allow people coming in from the minute we open our doors until we are locking up at the end of the day. There were a dozen people sleeping in the hallway outside my office on Christmas Eve because they had nowhere else to go. It wasn't as cold then as it is now, but it was cold. I was cold. Thanks to the generosity and commitment of the Earleys and so many volunteers, so many who have spoken here today, we did something that I called experimenting for a radical community. By opening beyond our regular business hours, welcoming, feeding, and caring for people 24/7 for a week. It should not have taken an emergency to shine a light on something that we all knew was a problem. I am proud of those who stepped up, and I am proud that we have seen a community of radical compassion here at Oneonta. First Methodist Church will be there with whatever people, supplies, and compassion we can offer to build the kind of beloved community we dream of having.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Beverly, correct? Thank you. Beverly Wood, yes, please. do you have one more thought? Is it, you're,
As far as the marketing and stuff.
I'm sorry, as far as,
I think you're getting overcharged. I used to be marketing because I was volunteers to cut it and help to cut it.
thank you.
And I don't know what to go to.
Yes, yes, sir.
As I delivered my prepared remarks earlier, so this should be brief, but I do want to say very briefly that when Churchill wrote the subway during the Blitz, it didn't cost, to my knowledge, he didn't spend a bit of public money in doing so. And I know, I've seen some of you there, I've heard reports about others being there, I've seen Councilmember Marks at the warming station at First United Methodist, in person, I bumped into her there. And I've heard reports, Mr. Mayor, which I believe, of you being there as well. And so there's really, I understand there's legal red tape when it comes to public expenditures, but moral leadership, especially in the day and age that we're leading in now, moral leadership is priceless. And so I know I'm comparing you to Churchill. I know that's a big ask, but this moment really does demand a lot from each of you. And so I think that we're right to ask it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to add one thing.
You go for it.
When I was living in Plainfield, New Jersey, I went to Essex County College, and they had a concept that I think would work in the future. Asking unhoused people to go to this point, to go to Cooperstown, to go for this there, this that, that's a problem. What they did was they set up everything in one wing, where there was healthcare, jobs, social services, and they work with felons as well. And they were all able to go to this one wing of the college and be able to find out where things were that could help them be housed, help them get health insurance, or whatever, humanly that they needed in the moment, to get back on their feet. So I'm suggesting, whatever facility is available, some kind of open air, where you can put pods in and have the professionals come to the building. Because sometimes, if you catch an out-of-work volunteer, years ago for 5 years and all that kind of stuff, with people with disabilities and mental health and homeless and addictions and all that kind of stuff. If you have the stuff available, a lot of times we can save a life, because if they get away, once they make a decision to seek help, and then they have to deal with some more ilk, it's a distraction that throws them off. But if you get them right there, and everything is right there, it definitely removes any excuse, and gives them the help that they need. So if everything can be housed, even in one place, is the best case scenario. And I'm also Army veteran. I remember being in an open air space with sleeping bags, but everything was in the house. Everything we needed, whether it was shots or whatever, it was all there. It's the same concept that the unhoused need. Trying to traipse in all over town and Cooperstown and back and all that kind of stuff. And last thing, the business of the people who own the properties that the renters rent from, we can't control that snow, because especially some of us who are paying for them to remove it. And right now, I tried to employ them to come and back this snow up further in the yard. Now you tell me I'm getting ready to get a ticket if I'm on the street because my landlord doesn't remove the snow in the yard. And maybe they don't know where they're gonna put it at, because you really need a dump truck to come in and remove the snow. So that's a really major issue that needs to be, and is there some place that snow can be dumped that people know about? Because snow is gonna need to be dumped. If we get dumped on again, snow is gonna need to be removed and dumped. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have
We've
one tiny little question.
Tiny question, we'll hear it.
So just to finish out the skate park thing, why can't we just repaint over it and make it more leveler and then add on instead of tearing it up? Because it's gonna cost you more to tear it up and put it back in and rebuild.
I would, sir, I recommend as well, I want to answer your question in just a second. Any other petitioners before we conclude that have not spoken?
To what she said about the fines or whatever.
So I'd like you to, sir, the question is a very good question, and the next time the Parks and Recreation Committee meets, I hope you find that date and time and go and make that question to them, and any comments you have for the skate park.
Okay, and I was gonna say, so there's an app you can download.
I would like you to-
They sell houses for 5-floor houses, like $3,300.
There's also the Housing Commission, I'd like you to talk to them too.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting, and I think they would like to hear that idea.
All right.
So I just want to make sure the ideas go in the right direction, right? So
Yeah,
the
yes,
Parks and
yes.
Recreation Committee and the Housing Commission, that might be an interesting idea. So, yeah, please.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Okay, thank you all. I think there was no executive session this night, so. Where's my-
Actually, I was still kidding. Spice it up a little.
My agenda, Warren. Okay, all right, so without executive session,
Question. Is there not an executive session to discuss the evaluation?
well, that's gonna be in the March meeting. I'm sorry, I was trying to tell you what's coming up in March, to prepare for it. That's all, yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be the second meeting in March for that one. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, no executive session, we'll stand adjourned.